For us,
Yeah.
it hasn't changed. I know you're probably referring to the revenue share and what's going on nationally. Volleyball is one of the top sports in the country, and it's very important for us, for our community, for women's sports, and for us to be competitive. It's very similar to, Robin Fralick and women's basketball. I want to be in the national conversation when it comes to volleyball. We're going to build a new arena. We've got the coach in place, and I think we have the foundation in place for volleyball just to take off here, and I'm excited for it.
Have you had any more timeline on the new arena or anything like that, or is any more progress on that?
It's going fast. I mean, we've already had authorization to plan from the board. Hopefully at some point in the near future we'll get authorization to proceed. We're working on a financial funding plan that's going to be separate than the stadium projects, and that's coming along really well. So this arena is going to happen.
Where was your first conversation with her? And did you talk to her? You said 3 years ago? Or?
I interviewed her 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah, in person. 3 years ago.
Yeah. She was a finalist.
Okay.
She was one of 3 people we zeroed in on, and at the time it just wasn't the right time.
Where did can you take me through your conversations with her this time, like when you first reached out?
Yeah, I first reached out to see if she was interested, and then I told her I'd get back with her with a formal interview, and that's what we did. Spent about an hour with her, asked her all the typical interview questions, but her passion for Michigan State came through. Like, she had been watching us for the last 3 years. She knows the ingredients that it takes to be successful here, and it was clear. I didn't have to really go much further than her and a few others.
Was there any thought that you might lose her, with the timing of her career?
I want to say loser, Chris. I think I knew her time was coming quickly as a head coach, and it was important that, for me it was important that we gave, because Kristen is a very loyal person. It was difficult for her to leave Minnesota, and so I think it would be extremely difficult for her to leave somewhere else, even though she loves this place. So to your point, yes, I wanted to get in on this because I know what she's capable of.
Imagine that after the first process, you knew her more than you had before. So I imagine you kind of had your eye on, you're probably charting where she was from that point.
I've been watching her like I watch other coaches, and this wasn't a normal search that I've done in the past. I really zeroed in on her and a few others and made a decision fairly quickly.
You had the luxury, too. I think you had moved over to the department when she was an athlete. How much interaction did you have with her? Because she obviously was in a big student leadership.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching her as a student athlete, and then she came back as a coach. She's been in leadership positions, her entire professional career, even as a student athlete. And she just has that factor. I don't want to compare her to anybody we have now, like an Adam or Robin, but she has that leadership ability, and then that recruiting piece is important. She's developed relationships. The number of people we've talked to that said Kristen is known throughout the country is important. Volleyball is very similar to hockey when it comes to like the junior level, the club level, and she has those relationships. That's a great question. I think for me, you don't have to be an alum here, you don't have to come from here, but you have to have a passion for Michigan State. Like, this place has to matter to you, and that came out quickly with her. And then back that up with her coaching experience, recruiting experience, her ability to get people involved. It just was a complete package. But the number one thing to be a leader in our department, you have to have passion for Michigan State. No, I mean, I think it's equally important, but volleyball is a relationship sport in terms of the club area. It's different than football and basketball. You got to develop relationships in volleyball and club volleyball when these kids are 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And then it's very similar to hockey when it comes to recruiting.
Did any of the last 4 or 5 years with, I guess, the rise in prominence on the network with the volleyball coverage, I think the ratings kind of spiked. I mean, was any of that a surprise to the leaders in the conference?
No, I mean, if you watch volleyball, it's a very energetic and active sport, very fast. There's a lot of strategy involved, and it's fun to watch. And the student athletes are very athletic. And I knew that it was. I said this 3 years ago. Volleyball is going to explode in this country, and I want to be in that conversation.
What's your vision for Michigan State? When you dream big, what do you think is possible?
You know, there's steps. I want to get into the NCAA tournament. I do think, you know, it's been proven this year, you know, with Penn State winning a national title, that the Big Ten is the place for volleyball in the country. And I do think that Kristen is the person to get us in that conversation.
And with an arena?
With an arena, with the following we have, alumni support, community support. You know, I want volleyball in that conversation, Jim.
And how many will the new arena seat? 3,000 or 4,000?
It's going in between 4,500 and 6,000.
You dream of sellouts one day?
Absolutely. Standing room only, loud crowd. I mean, that's what's coming to this community with volleyball.
Will you host? In this day and age of NIL and everything, is it hard to raise money for that new arena? Is that done? Is that still in the process?
It's hard to raise money in general for a lot of things now because we have revenue share where, you know, we have to raise money internally for money to replace what we're sharing with our student athletes. So that's going to be difficult. But, you know, I think the passion is still there for our base. Our donor base wants our student athletes to be successful. So the funding model for the arena is going to be a little bit different than other things.
Will you host postseason events here for volleyball?
We'll host postseason events for volleyball, but then David will have the bigger vision is to have community events there as well. A lot of potentially high school athletic events, commencements, small concerts. I just think it'll be a arena that'll be operating throughout the year.
Gymnastics and wrestling too?
Wrestling as well. And gymnastics.
I know it's probably a little bit maybe ahead of time, but that would be an athletics venue versus
Yes.
an RHA venue, like here.
The reason behind athletics really pushing this is to be able to have a little bit more control of the facility, allowing our student athletes to practice there at different times, and then, you know, the ability to connect with our community and use this facility as a support mechanism for what's going on at the university. If there's somebody out there that's listening that wants to put a dollar figure, that name could be theirs. Location will be right on the other side of the new IM facility.
And that goes for sponsorship name on the building
Yes.
also?
Yeah. That's a great question. Sponsorship naming will be something that comes to our campus, and our community is going to have to wrap their arms around it. It's a source of revenue.
You anticipate that at the football stadium too?
All right, Kristen's up at the front.
I'm open to a lot of possibilities.
Thanks.